Grab your cup. If you have issues in your life that are consistently a problem, something that you've been frustrated about, trying to change, and yet you feel like you only go so far, I want you to listen to this conversation. So I'm talking about, it could be health issues, digestive things, chronic pain in your body, could be autoimmune, could be sleep problems, anxiety, anything like that. Or it also could be areas in your life itself, not necessarily in your physical body. So it might be you feel stressed all the time, you have anxiety about social situations or work or money, you have relationship issues where communication is a problem, or you don't feel really connected, or even toxic relationships that you find yourself in over and over, or you're in one relationship and the patterns within that relationship are toxic. It doesn't matter where the issue is, because this one thing will be at the root of all of it. And I'm going to tell you what that is. My name is Linda Downey, and I am a transformational health and whole life coach. And I work with women primarily on overcoming stress, anxiety, burnout, and changing the patterns of their life that help bring vitality back, increase their energy, improve their health, and have them feel more connected to themselves and their joy, okay? So the one thing that I'm talking about is your nervous system. And if maybe you've heard of nervous system, you kind of know what it does. I want to try to give you an example that I think will make it very clear why this is so important. So imagine that there is a building with a business running out of that building. And the building is all of the facilities, the plumbing, the heating, the electricity, the food being produced to feed the employees, like there's a cafeteria on site. And then the business is all the business that's going on there, whatever is produced out in the world that's making money, that's having this business thrive and do well. So that example is like your body, the building, and your life is the business. When things are going well in this building and this business, there's a management team that's running everything, and it's 2 people. When things are going well, John is in charge of everything. He knows how to make everything run smoothly. He's on top of it. He's always checking the plumbing and the food and everything like that. He's always popping in to see in the finance department, hey, are we making money? Are things going well? So John handles management when everything is going well. In your nervous system, there's 2 branches that are always running the show. The one branch that's the same as John, when you're feeling healthy, you have energy, when your immune system is working well, you're digesting your food, you feel peaceful and happy and connected to those people in your life, you're not overworking, etc. You feel like you have balance. That branch of your nervous system is called the parasympathetic branch of your nervous system. So that branch is running everything when things are good. Back to the building and the business. Now something happens. The market tanks. People aren't buying the product anymore. Or there's a burst pipe in the basement and now there's flooding. Or the food got contaminated and the employees are getting sick. I don't care what it is. Anything in the facilities or the running of the business, once there's a problem, John says, this is out of my hands, passes the reign over to Frank. And Frank is in charge when there's a problem. So Frank is the guy who comes in and says, okay, everybody shut down. We got to pump out the water from the basement, or stop everything. There's contamination in the food. We got to make sure we find out where it is, or stop producing. Nobody's buying. The market's tanking. We got to shift up what we're going to do for business, or we're going to be out of business. So Frank handles the problem. In your nervous system, that branch, when the parasympathetic stops being in charge because there's a threat, there's something that needs to be handled, your body gives it over to the sympathetic branch of your nervous system. And that branch is in charge whenever there's a threat. And by the way, your nervous system's main concern is, am I safe? It's always scanning the environment. Am I safe? Can I keep doing business as usual? As soon as there's a concept, an interpretation that I'm not safe, it might just be an email came in. It might be a guy cut you off on the road when you're driving to work. It might be somebody walks in the room and they look angry. Whatever it is, as soon as there's an interpretation of, I'm not safe, the sympathetic branch takes over. And it will stop everything from running as usual in your body, just like in the business. It will say to the body, stop digesting food, stop fighting viruses and bacteria and finding cancer cells. We need to handle this threat. So that's its main concern. And what's supposed to happen, like in the building and the business, Frank should handle the problem and then get everything back as soon as possible, everything back to running the business and having everybody be happy and well fed and the building all working well, and it'll go back to John. And the same thing should happen in your nervous system. But here's what happens. When we get stuck in that sympathetic mode, when we have that branch of our nervous system always thinking there's a threat, it's going to disrupt all the systems of your health. That's why chronic health issues show up, and you can't change them if you're stuck in threat mode. If you're stuck in, I have something to fight, or I have something to run from, or I'm been stressed for so long, I'm just in burnout and frozen. When you're stuck there, the facilities of your body cannot work. But also, the way that your brain is going to handle things, the choices that you make, the decisions, the behavior patterns that you have are going to also be in that threat mode. When that part of your brain takes over, you don't communicate in the same way, you don't make decisions in the same way, you're not creative. All you're concerned about is, I feel like I'm under threat. And because the master computer of our brain is so smart, it remembers everything that ever happened to you. And when something is going on that feels like something that happened 30 years ago, but it reminds the computer, hold on, I remember that look on that face. I remember what this felt like. That's threatening to me. So it will remember anything that you've experienced that you didn't really resolve for yourself, it will remember as a threat. So it could be you grew up in a chaotic household. Maybe there were money issues. Maybe it was a single parent household. Maybe your parents fought a lot. Maybe there was illness, but it felt threatening or unsafe in some way. And you started to live in that threat mode all the time. When we have health issues that show up, the symptoms that show up when they do have really been being worked on for a long time. Autoimmune conditions are for years under the surface happening. The immune system is being triggered inappropriately for a long time before you ever feel symptoms. So it often happens when we are growing up or very young, and the nervous system has learned certain ways of being. So if you have patterns like always overworking, saying yes to things that you don't want to, feeling like all the pressure's on you, deciding that you have to be the one to do it, if you feel like the way you communicate is abrasive, or you just stay silent, you're silently resentful, or you just you don't ever participate, you don't ever really take care of yourself, you have behaviors that put yourself last, all of those things and many more that I don't have time to go into, but you know your life. If that's happening, you've got to look at your nervous system, because Frank has been staying in charge, and it's not ever going back to business as usual and a booming business and happy employees. That would be John in charge. Your sympathetic branch is keeping you stuck in stress, and your parasympathetic has not kicked in and taken over. And it's showing up in your body and in your life all over the place, okay? If that resonates with you, that's how your nervous system is working right now, and you need to figure out how to get it back to working the way it's meant to, where it doesn't see everything as a threat, where you can heal in your body and get your health back, and where you can stop making behaviors and choices, doing behaviors and making choices that keep you in anxiety and worried and not happy. If you want more information on that, put talk in the comments and I'll make sure that we connect.